Good evening. We are less than a year away from the next general election and it is now clear that this promises to be a real contest. Today's bypoll results have come as a huge setback for the BJP and a boost for the opposition. The loss of the Kairana Lok Sabha seat in particular marks the third big Lok Sabha bypoll loss for the BJP in Uttar Pradesh. In this all-important swing state, the BJP had won 71 of the 80 seats in 2014. What these bypolls have shown is that it will not be easy for the BJP to repeat that performance in UP next year, and that in turn will have a huge bearing on the election outcome. These bypolls have shown that it is a united opposition alone that can take on the might of the BJP, and from here on they will look to consolidate that further. The big question is, they'll come together, but will they stay together? The win for the RLD candidate in Kairana today not only shows that the caste arithmetic worked, but that there was a substantial swing away from the BJP which held this seat. So anti-incumbency also kicked in, all of which is ringing alarm bells for the BJP. The one silver lining for the BJP today was the win in the Lok Sabha bypoll of Palghar in Maharashtra, but the margin of victory there also has come down very significantly. So what do these by-elections tell us then? Do they tell us that the BJP is in real trouble ahead of 2019, or will the Modi magic still work? After all, we do have a year to go. Let's first take a look at how the results panned out in these crucial by-elections today. There were 4 Lok Sabha by-elections that took place and assembly segments of 11 seats that were counted today. So if you look at the 4 Lok Sabha by-elections first, there has been a victory for the BJP in Palghar in Maharashtra, which we mentioned, and the party that it supported in Nagaland has won its seat. But the big setback has been in Kairana in Uttar Pradesh, and the other seat in Maharashtra, which has been Bhandara Gondia. And there too, you had the Congress and NCP coming together, unlike in Palghar. So again, opposition unity clearly playing a key role when it comes to defeating the BJP. And then if you look at the assembly results, as we said, there were 11 assembly results that came out today. Out of these 11, the BJP has won just 1 seat in Uttarakhand. And all the other results are out there. You've got the SP winning the Nurpur assembly by-election in UP. That was another important seat which the BJP actually hoped it would win because they knew Kairana was going to be difficult. You have the RJD, which won a very important assembly by-election in Bihar from the JDU. That has its own ramifications both for Bihar and nationally. The Congress winning the RR Nagar bypoll in Karnataka, again very significant, and that's by quite a big margin. Significantly, while the TMC did well and won its by-election in West Bengal today, the BJP came in second over there. So that's something to look at more closely as we go ahead from here. And the Congress also took a seat from the Akali Dal in Punjab. Congress also winning a seat in Meghalaya and actually has become the single largest party in Meghalaya. But the big story today has been from Uttar Pradesh and what has happened in Kairana. We're joined now by the big newsmaker of the day, Jayant Chaudhary of the RLD, who is joining us live this evening on Left, Right and Centre. Jayant, many congratulations to you, to the RLD. The BJP has spent all of today essentially playing down the importance of these bypolls and saying what Amit Shah had already said, which is that there are largely local factors that are at play in these bypolls, and they don't see this necessarily as a national referendum. What would you say to that?
I mean, it's pretty obvious that it would take that stance, but every election is a barometer of the public mood. And you have to keep in mind that BJP doesn't like losing elections. They haven't lost many elections since 2014. And they did use all the resources at their disposal in this election. We had a grand event with the Prime Minister himself heralding in new projects in the neighboring district of Bagpat on the 27th. We had a Chief Minister come to our constituency twice, Deputy Chief Minister, several ministers camping. So they understood that it is all or nothing. They understood that the election is going to have deeper ramifications, much wide-ranging impact, and it could influence the momentum for 2019. So it's just now it's posturing when they say that no, it's not a memorandum on Modi ji, and it's just a simple by-election. It really matters, and I know it really hurts for them.
Jayant, the other important aspect of the Kairana seat in particular was that you've been able to get the Jats and Muslims back together in this particular seat in the aftermath of the Muzaffarnagar riots of 2013. That is something that really played a big role even in how your party performed in 2014. It's now very important for you to be able to keep this combination together.
Well, I think it's a victory for aspirational, positive politics. We ran an issue-based campaign. It was not a glitzy campaign. It was a very emotional pitch. It was a hectic campaign. Also, it's hopefully an end to the politics of experimentation with hate politics. And, Western UP became this nursery for all this experimentation over the last 4-5 years. I think this result is now going to bring an end to that. I wouldn't comment on Jats, but largely the Hindu-Muslim tensions that were there have dissipated. And now it's for the world to see. It's not as if it's just an election that has brought it about. There was a lot of work that went into it, into building bridges, into repairing relationships. But now it's manifested itself in an electoral result. And now people in the whole country have woken up and said, hey, Kairana is not about Hindu-Muslim anymore. So that's a good sign.
But you did make a smart choice in fielding a Muslim candidate on an RLD ticket. And therefore, you've had this victory today. I mean, that was obviously a very conscious decision that you made. She's now the first Muslim MP that UP has had since 2014.
Definitely, it's a big representation. It's a big boost for the minorities and for helping. We didn't want to send this message to the world and to our country that there's going to be majoritarianism and it's here to stay and it's acceptable. We had to draw a Lakshman Rekha somewhere. And Akhilesh ji and me, we sat down on this issue. We took a shared decision, and collective decisions can sometimes work out.
The point, though, Jayant, is can the opposition really stay together? There is almost a year to go for the next general election. A year is a very long time in politics. A week is a very long time in politics. And the issue is, do you believe that opposition parties will be able to stick together, that the inherent contradictions that are there will not come to the fore?
If we didn't do so well, you could question the path. But I think it is our decisions have been legitimized by the opinion of the people. And that is true democracy at work. There's enough pressure from the people on parties like us. In fact, I think it is the NDA government, the BJP government, that's going to find it hard to keep its flock together. You might see a lot of influential people now want to switch sides because they sense the momentum is shifting.
But what is the lesson you think for the Congress party? It's very clear that you, the SP and the BSP will have to come together in UP being the most crucial state, and would have to stick together. But what is the messaging here, you think, for the Congress party, where many still fashion themselves as the natural leaders, quote unquote, of any opposition alliance? Do you think that the Congress may actually have to learn to give smaller parties like yours and Akhilesh and Mayawati a bigger role to play and take a back seat?
Well, there are states where regional parties on their own might can take on BJP. Then there are several states where it is a fight between Congress and BJP. So I think Congress is going to have to strike a fair balance. They are going to be at the fulcrum of what happens on the national canvas. We can't count out Congress, the history of Congress, and the fact that they represent this center of, centrist view in Indian politics. Left of center, obviously, but, the way Modi ji has gone even further right than anyone expected. Now, acceptability of Congress in many spectrums has gone up. So Congress is going to play a role. I think they're going to have to collaborate. There are several regional parties and leaders who are willing to work with Congress. They just need to be given the right samman, as they call it, the right munch. There's no reason why Congress can't involve regional parties in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, and in other states where Congress is the principal opposition to BJP.
All right. Well, interesting times ahead. Jayant Chaudhary, thank you for joining us today. Your party clearly the star as far as today's elections are concerned with that big win in Kairana. Let's go straight across to our terrific panel this evening. We have Mr. Chandan Mitra, senior leader of the BJP, joining us. Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Manish Tiwari, spokesperson of the Congress Party this evening. And our two veteran commentators this evening, Sabha Naqvi here in the studio with us, and R. Jagannathan joining us tonight from Mumbai. Chandan Mitra, let me ask you first. You wear both a politician's hat and an editor's hat. What is your big takeaway from these bypolls, not just Kairana, but when you look at the whole picture?
Well, I think one message is loud and clear, that if the opposition unites, which they hadn't all this time, then I think BJP has a really serious fight on its hands for 2019. 2019 was being taken as a kind of a no contest, that Mr. Modi ji was supposed to be sweeping
walkover.
it. Yeah, walkover. Even Nitish Kumar some time ago said there is no contest in 2019. Mr. Omar Abdullah said that think of 2024, don't think of 2019. So from that position, I think what today's results show, that if the opposition unites, comes together anywhere, they can defeat the BJP. We saw that even without uniting in Karnataka, BJP had a setback. But today's setback is serious, and BJP needs to introspect a lot as to how they are going to change track or reinvent themselves to kind of get the upper hand again.
One issue, of course, is the issue of arithmetic, which, as you said, when the opposition comes together, their numbers add up, etc. If you look at, for example, Mr. Mitra, even the Kairana seat, you see that there has also been a swing of more than 4% against the BJP, while there's also been a swing in favor of the RLD. So it's not only the arithmetic that has added up. For instance, in that seat, there's clearly an anti-incumbency that has played out as well. Do you think there's an introspection that is also needed on the BJP's messaging? For instance, the Ganna Jinnah thing, which actually, Jayant had talked about. Do they need to pay more attention, for instance, to farmer issues, get away from this cow politics that Yogi Adityanath has been focusing on in UP? Is there a course correction needed?
Well, you see, the issue of Ganna in particular, I would say that the BJP did not pay adequate attention to it. Ganna farmers are very unhappy, as you know, and it was palpable. Everybody was there for everybody to see. But in Kairana in particular, I must tell you that an interesting thing happened. Mr. Hukum Singh, the BJP MP from there, whose death caused this by-election, Mr. Hukum Singh was a very tall leader of the Gujar community. And Gujars are both Hindus and Muslims. Some are Hindus, some are Muslims. But he was such a tall leader that by and large the entire Gujar community used to come behind him and vote for him, and he has been a BJP leader for a long time. He's a very senior leader. But this time, when Mr. Hukum Singh is no longer there, and his daughter, who is relatively new, first time she is contesting an election, I think, and I believe from ground reports, that there was a division among the Gujars, and the Muslim Gujars went to the Samajwadi and other RLD and other non-BJP parties. So that 4% swing away, I think, could be significantly explained by the Muslim Gujars kind of
moving away as well.
Well, but of course, there are other issues that you mentioned. I'm sure there's some messaging that needs to be corrected, which I think BJP will definitely do.
And they have 1 year to do it. So yes, anything is possible between now and next year. But Ghanshyam Tiwari, a lot of commentary also today has focused on whether the Kairana result actually shows that religious polarization there's a law of diminishing returns vis-a-vis that. We know how communally sensitive Kairana has been. It is part of that western UP area that was up in flames a few years ago, and we saw those communal divisions play out when Akhilesh Yadav was chief minister. But is there a warning sign to the BJP that you can only play this kind of politics of polarization up to a point? If, for instance, the Ganna farmers, the sugarcane farmers are unhappy, those concerns will trump everything else.
Well, this is more than a warning sign. This is a trailer of the India Shining movement of BJP in 2004, when the Prime Minister does a road show of a 9-kilometer stretch, and he travels for 6 kilometers doing a road show of an expressway. He does a rally a few hours before the poll in a neighboring constituency does not address the concern of the farmers the way he should have addressed. And in Uttar Pradesh, there are 4 semi-chief ministers. There is part-time chief minister in Ajay Singh Bistji, then there are 2 deputy chief ministers and 1 informal chief minister from backroom from RSS, Mr. Sunil Bansal. I think all 4 should resign, because you lost in just 1 year, you lost eastern Uttar Pradesh in Gorakhpur, central Uttar Pradesh in Phulpur and western Uttar Pradesh in Kairana. All 3 are bellwether seats. 2, you do not have anything to show. If you could not polarize Kairana, how do you plan to polarize Uttar Pradesh? And if you do not polarize Uttar Pradesh, there is no chance you are going to win, because there is nothing much to show. So this is more than a warning sign for BJP. They have lost the narrative and a double whammy both at the state level and the central level.
Okay, so you believe there's a bigger message here, Mr. Mitra.
Quick point. You know, BJP did not polarize this election. And you are saying,
but what was Jinnah about that?
I'm saying the same thing. I think they could not. I'm saying when Mr. Ajay Singh Bistji went there, he said, "Ganna bhi mudda hai, Jinnah bhi mudda hai." So there was all the intent.
No, they did not do seriously.
Chandan, I appreciate your honesty that this is a real challenge, but you suggested that only Muslims have somehow moved away, that none of the others who voted for the BJP could have. Now, this is the way, Nidhi, I just want to say this, Chandan is doing it in a more sophisticated manner. Very crudely, this election is being told that Muslims are standing there and making a chaotic decisions and pushing. It's not just the Muslims who have, Muslims were never voting for the BJP anyway, be it Gujars, I disagree with you, they were never voting, but we can disagree on that. The point is, others have moved away. And
also, the BJP had a vote share of more than 50% in the last election, which was massive.
And you cannot put it on Muslims. Therefore, that is how the BJP wants to posit this. There is somehow something to do with Muslims, because it may have failed, the attempt at communalizing in this case, but it is not, they're not going to stop. It is one of the sort of templates that the BJP always uses. They need to take things to an emotional pitch. It is a very well calibrated ideological position, especially when economic indices are not good.
But if you announce a bonanza for farmers on the eve of the general election, that may work as well. If you go hammer and tongs on welfare schemes and announce a big bonanza for farmers, that could turn things around.
All the revenue from petroleum.
That's the big speculation.
You can put 10 Jan Dhan accounts and project it as thousands. And that will work. We saw the demonetization.
So maybe somebody there is taking notes.
A very quick point. If you look at the overall bypolls, it is only the BJP that has lost in the states that it governed. Otherwise, other parties have either won against BJP or have retained the seats in the states that it governs. So there is a message that people are giving, that BJP is dismissing, because they do not want a dent on the mascot of Prime Minister Modi.
So let me ask, before I come to Manish Tiwari, Mr. Jagannathan on that, and he's joining us from Mumbai tonight. Mr. Jagannathan, what do you think is the messaging that you're taking away from these by-elections? Do you also see these, as the BJP does, as merely local level elections that will not have a bearing on the national mood? Or do you think that this is a serious warning sign to the BJP that it needs to change its messaging over the next year?
No, I think this is certainly an indication of the national mood. In fact, we talked about, I think the BJP won big in 2014 because the opposition was completely divided. You had SP and BSP knocking off bits of vote, and in western Uttar Pradesh, where a lot of the seats should actually have gone against the BJP, went in favor of the BJP because the anti-BJP vote was divided between 2 or 3 parties. So I think this is the first time when all those votes are not being split. And so, since UP and Bihar gave the biggest number of votes to the BJP in 2014, the BJP has a lot to worry, because as long as the opposition is able to not split its vote, the BJP has to worry about where it can win. So I think it certainly has a national message, for the simple reason that UP and Bihar gave the national message substantially, apart from the 3 or 4 other Hindi-speaking states, in 2014. So I think it is a signal. So the BJP has to rework its plans based on how it plans to reverse the trend in this thing. I also believe that apart from arithmetic, a small bit of chemistry is working for the opposition, and that chemistry is that the mood that they want to stop Modi is what is the chemistry that binds them together. So it's not just arithmetic. For the first time, there is an anti-Modi, anti-BJP mood, that the opposition is willing to sink its own egos in order to ensure this. so that more than like-minded parties, I say it is the dislike-minded parties. They dislike the BJP and the Modi group, and that is why that chemistry is working.
But it's interesting that you say
it is indicative of 2019. BJP has to completely rework its plans.
It's interesting that you say that you believe that for the first time there is an anti-Modi sentiment in the country. That would certainly worry the BJP today, wouldn't it? Then it effectively means that the Modi magic we saw last time is going to be much harder to replicate, or it may not be there.
You're asking me?
Yeah, Mr. Jagannathan.
No, I think there is a Modi mood also, but the thing is, if you see, even at the height of the Modi mood, you got about 31% of the vote, and the NDA got about 37%. So, I mean, there is always a huge chunk that was not Modi. So, in that sense, Modi has been able to capitalize all the votes on the basis of a divided opposition. The minute the opposition stopped dividing, that vote can only pull so much. There is a limit to how much the Modi, pro-Modi sentiment can take you. That's what is being realized.
Well, Manish Tiwari, the big question then is, and I'll come to the Congress specific one in just a moment, that will the opposition that has come together now and has done well so far be able to stay together? We're still almost a year away. There are so many inherent contradictions between various political parties that are trying to come together to defeat the BJP. And in fact, the BJP may use that in its campaign to say that, look, this is a confused bunch of people, who it's one Modi against, all these, whatever, 7, 8, 10 people. Is the opposition, though, you think, going to be able to hold it together until the general election? Do you think that's going to be a challenge?
Well, Nidhi, first of all, the premise that it is one Modi is incorrect. The NDA BJP is actually a coalition of 47 odd political parties, as my colleague Mr. Pramod Tiwari was pointing out when we briefed the press earlier during the day. In fact, I think the Prime Minister would not even be able to name those 47 political parties which are a part of his larger coalition, without putting them down on a piece of paper. But be that as it may, the fundamental question is, why is the opposition coming together? Is it the fear of Narendra Modi, or is it the fear of the Bharatiya Janata Party, that it is an existential question for the opposition? Or is it because of the immense damage which they have done to the country in the past 4 years? And the latter is true, because people are extremely concerned, people are extremely sensitive that the all-around damage which has been inflicted on this country by the NDA BJP combined, if that is not stopped, if that is not arrested, it is going to be a downward spiral for India, which will become completely and absolutely irreversible. So therefore, notwithstanding the contradictions, and you're right, when you're competing for the same political space in a same geographical entity, there are bound to be contradictions. But the reason you find that those contradictions are being papered over, or those contradictions are being reconciled, is primarily because people are inherently concerned that we do not want to get into a situation whereby the damage to this country becomes irreversible.
So my question then to you after that is the Congress willing to go out of its way to be more accommodating to its allies? And this is an important question, Manish, because it seems that there are still many in the Congress who see Rahul Gandhi as the natural leader of any opposition alliance against the BJP, that that he may have prime ministerial ambitions. Do you think that Rahul Gandhi needs to put prime ministerial ambitions aside for the next year and really focus more on giving space to other regional parties and working together with them, and sorting out the leadership issue later, maybe take a back seat and see how this goes?
What you're really asking me very politely is that with the Congress, is it a case of Begane ki shadi mein Abdullah Devana? And I can tell you straight off the bat that that is not the case. First of all, having prime ministerial aspirations is not wrong. I mean, if you are there in the game, then your skin needs to be in the game. So therefore, if you articulate a prime ministerial ambition and correctly say that if my party wins a majority, then yes, I am in the game. I don't think anything is wrong with that. But to answer your more fundamental question, is the Congress ready to be flexible? Is the Congress ready to accommodate the regional players? I think Karnataka is an example where even before the results came out, the Congress decided to unconditionally support the JDS, and you today have a JDS chief minister in Karnataka, and there's a coalition between the JDS and the Congress where the Congress is the major player. So I think that question has been answered by the Congress in its deed as to how it has conducted itself in Karnataka.
Well, let me ask Sabha about that. Do you see a fundamental shift in the way the Congress is approaching other parties now? You do see a change?
I see a big shift, as Manish said this. But Nidhi, what I think is going to actually happen, if I may quickly, just 2 minutes, take your time. The Congress, there is a limit to how many seats the Congress can win in the next Lok Sabha. The BJP's potential is larger. The Congress cannot cross 110, 120. I'm talking about a very good performance. So I suspect, and similarly all the powerful regional leaders like Mayawati and Mamta, there's too much, if the BJP is defeated, if the others succeed, which is very rare, which is a possibility we must look at, we are looking at a non-entity face coming to the front. As you will find a consensus. That's how Devagowda became the Prime Minister. A very, very small party which doesn't offend the other parties. We have to start looking at
You might find a dark horse.
You can find Manmohan Singh was a dark horse. I mean, you could throw out names like Gopal Gandhi. There was a story the other day that Pranab Mukherjee is making trips to the RSS in your channel because he also imagines. No, there was a story we were on a show together, he and I, and Sunitra suggested that so we have to start looking at not at the powerful people. We have to look at the neutral people who offend the lowest, who offend the least amount in this future coalition.